Well, this is the video I've been promising everybody. I hope it's eye opening to people that will need it, and eye opening to people that don't need it and everything. I'm not making this video for to gain fame, gain popularity or anything like that. I just want to kind of get my story out there to what happened during my detainment. But before that, I'm going to give you a kind of like a short life story of me and what went on, what led up to me being deported out of the country, uh, and hopefully it'll help somebody. They can use the information, um, whatnot, and everything. But I was my name is Bunrap Peter. So first of all, I was born in Thailand. We fled Cambodia in the 70s, mid to late 70s, fled Cambodia during the war because of the Khmer Rouge uh, that took, the army, basically Pol Pot, their regiment, or however you say it, uh, that basically it was like genocide. So I think they came into power like in 1979. The war was in 1975 to 79, and from 79 to 1991, they were in power. And during that time, genocide, yeah, 1.5 million, and that's the low end of the number. There, it's accounted for. 2 million is the high end of the number of Cambodians that were either put to death, starved to death, uh, fled, and stepped on the landmine. It was pretty horrible. If anybody has time, they can watch The Killing Fields. It's a pretty good movie. Angelina Jolie just made one. I think it's called "You Killed My Father." That was pretty good. But anyways, uh, I was born in Thailand. My parents fled Cambodia. Me and my brother were born in Thailand, and from there, uh, the U.S. government, deemed it unsafe for us to reside even that close. So a lot of people uh, fled to the U.S. I was a refugee. Uh, I think uh, we were giving refugee status to come to the U.S. Uh, I don't even think it was like planned that we were going to go to U.S. I think uh, we ended up in the U.S. with, I would say, a church group. I don't know too much because I was just an infant then. My parents just told us about the war, not really how we got to the U.S. But I know we stayed a little bit in France. My dad speaks French, so we stayed in France a little bit. But we end up in the U.S. Uh, Migrated to Austin, Texas, where I spent most of my time. Uh, Lived in California a little bit. Got in trouble with some gangs up there in California. Ended up coming back to Austin and getting in trouble with a couple of my friends, and I committed a crime. I did a robbery charge. I had a robbery charge in 1997, 6. Crimes were committed in 96. I was convicted in 97. I spent 17 years, almost 17 years in prison. Did my time, got out. Was As soon as I made parole, I was picked up from the Walsh unit, taken to ICE detention center, and held there. And they told me that, well, we're gonna deport you. And I was like, all right. I don't. My mom had passed away. My dad was sick and dying. I did not want to get deported, but it would probably have been better if I would have got deported. Then I'm glad I didn't, because through that time that I didn't get deported, I met my wife, married her, created a life for myself. I'll get to that a little bit, but I ended up seeing a deportation officer and said that, hey, you know what, we're gonna try to deport you. And I was like, all right. And I didn't see a judge then. Uh, they said, hey, but right now we can't deport you, but if you sign this paper right now, uh, we'll let you out 30 days. And I was like, all right, I'll sign it. Uh, I read the paper. The paper says that I agreed to the deportation. And, I was thinking to myself, I'd probably have a couple months before they come pick me up off the street or something. I'll go stay at my sister's house for a little bit. But that didn't happen. 30 days did come, though, and I was released. I got out and I went living with my sister. From there, I ended up living with my sister-in-law, my brother's ex-wife, uh, and I stayed there. And while I was in prison, I'd learned a little turning stuff and everything. It's in a trade school while I was in prison, and I was thinking, uh, there was a woman, Miss Whitmire, told me, hey, you can take this trade, you can take this or this forklifting trade, and get out there and there you'll make a lot of money. Well, forklift driving doesn't pay as good as CNC turning, machining, and stuff like that. So I went that route. I ended up spending 12 years on the street. The first year they asked me to come check in. INS came and checked. I checked in. They were like, hey, you have any travel document? And I told them my story. I was born in Cambodia. Any documents they have on me is probably burned down, which was true. It's burned down. It's in a hospital, bombed out, and all the hospitals back in the 70s they're no longer in existence. There's no hospitals in Cambodia that ever stood that long. But they're like, all right, well, here's the deal. Just report in every year until the status change. You just got to report in every year. And I was all like, well, how long is every year? He says probably for the rest of your life or until somebody changes the law. And I said, oh, okay. I said, so every year? He was like, yeah, every year. So I was like, well, I got to get a job and create something for myself. But I ended up going to a ACC. I got accepted into an ACC training class through Goodwill. And it was paid through by a company called Athena Manufacturing. So they paid for my class. And the classes were held at Athena Manufacturing, their meeting room. And we were allowed after hours, which was in the evening, after 4:30, to be on the floor and actually use some of the machinings they have there, which was pretty cool. Kudos for Athena. I went to that class for about 6 months. And I think at the end of the year, at the end of the semester, the owner came in and said, hey, two highest guys that graduate from class, two as high score getter, we're going to hire y'all from the, out of the class if you want to come to Athena. And me, I wanted to come to Athena. So I went to class, gave it my all, Thanks to my wife. Back then, me and my wife were just dating. She used to let me use her car to drive to school. My brother-in-law had let me use his car. Thanks to all the people that helped me, because if it weren't for them, I wouldn't be able, because we lived in South Austin. The class was in North Austin, almost in Pflugerville. But I went to class, graduated, top of the class. They offered me and a guy named not Torres, Brian Soto, Brian Soto, uh, job at Athena. The pay wasn't great when it first started, but after a year, I guess the owner or the co-owner, my manager Scotty Scotty Seegers, he saw the dedication and the want to learn, and they gave me a raise. And a couple years later, not even a couple years, a couple months later, gave me another raise. And I started to see that it was, pretty lucrative working as a machinist. So I learned, soaked up everything I could in machining. Wanted to get in the program, but owner felt it was more. I'd make the company more money if I was on the machining floor. So he didn't think it was a great idea for me to get into CNC programming, which was bad because the next manager I had, he wanted me to get into program, but that didn't happen. Well, I worked there for 11 years. 11 years, and they hired somebody in that I bumped heads with a lot. He was new, he had a degree, said all the right things. I ain't gonna say he was white, but he was white. But they chose to stick with him, and I was like, well, I just can't work for him. And it was a bad thing. It was he threw me like an extra $3 to stay, because he knew my worth. The only thing was I was a weekend supervisor already, and the manager Scotty Seegers, when he left, he told me that, hey, it's your job. That is your job. You run that shop, Peter. You do everything in that shop. You do everything that's a manager can possibly do. You run it the way a shop should be run and everything. And the only thing was, Scotty was right, but sometimes the owner he doesn't want the truth. He wants you to just say, yes, we can do that, even though it's nearly impossible. I'm not saying we can't do it, because there's sometimes we can do it, but sometimes we can. And I was real truthful, and I don't think they wanted a truthful man in that spot. So they hired a guy that I brought back, that ended up quitting from Athena, and then I had asked him to come back, and he brought his dad back, and they felt that they should go with him. He was younger, and I'm not knocking him. I'm very happy for him. I'm happy for him. I'm happy for the company. I ended up leaving Athena. I jumped around from Paradigm, Turncoat, Firefly. I worked, Aerotech had placed me at Firefly and other spots and everything. But while I was at Firefly, Turncoat was, and kudos not Turncoat, but Paradigm it's really nice. It was a good machine shop. I heard my ex-director, machining director, passed away, Steve Carrillo. Rest in peace. It hit me hard. I was real sad that I found out that he had passed away. But I jumped around from those machine shops. I ended up in Firefly, and Firefly gave me the most, Firefly Aerospace. It gave me the most chance to succeed. But while I was at Firefly, I heard of another company called Ceronic, and I was torn. I was like, I really want to go Ceronic, but I was like, I'm already entrenched in Firefly. Their machining, they had an Akuma that I loved running, and I was like, I said, man, I just the only thing was Firefly was in Briggs, Texas, and I was like, it's almost an hour drive from my house. And the deciding factor was my wife. My wife says, hey, you know what, go to Saronic. And I was like, are you sure? I mean, I'm already losing. I would be losing out on stuff, what I've already built up being at Firefly, even though I've only been there 2 weeks, but 2 weeks is more than no weeks at another company. My wife says, no, it's just, I don't know. I have a feeling at Saronic is the best way to go. Go to Saronic and everything. I was like, all right. So I end up telling Firefly that I was going to put my 2 weeks notice in, and they let me go that instance. They called me back, but they let me go that instant. They didn't want me there. They said, okay, if you don't want to be here, then gone. You can leave today. Well, that was kind of good because I left on a Friday and I ended up starting at Saronic on a Wednesday because I told them, I said, yeah, they didn't want to accept the 2 weeks, so they let me go early. And then a guy named JP had told me, well, come in Wednesday. We'll get all your paperwork done and get you going. Anyways, I started at Saronic at a lower pay than what I was making at Firefly. But I was, like I said, I was promised, hey, show and prove, and we'll push you up there. And it took a year, but they got me to where I wanted to be at and everything. Kudos to Saronic. Saronic's a great company and everything. They took care of me during the time I was detained. My company paid out my salary for 3 months. That kept my family afloat. God bless Saronic. Yeah, the people there were great and everything. I hated because when I went in, we had a nice team and everything. Matt, Sammy, Steven, Jacob, uh, all those guys. Danny, Matt Miller, even our welder, and then our two new guys that came in on the break. I can't remember their names. I know they're going to be so pissed off if they watch this and be like, you cannot remember our name, but I will give them a shout out and everything. They were great. They came in learning the break and then they end up getting on the machines and stuff like that. We have night crew too. That's awesome. But I was at Saronic, and one day you know we were gonna do some traveling, and me and my wife was all like, well, you're gonna have to go check in and everything. And I really didn't want to go check in. I didn't. I was so worried. I was like, you know what, Trump has me so scared, so worried. But you know Trump is only one man. He's the president, and I understand that he calls shots. I'm not into politics. I'm not you know if he was voted in to run the company, he's voted to run the company. And if he's voted in to run the country, then he's voted in to run the country and everything. I don't want to bash any president or whatnot and everything. I felt like what happened to me was uh, horrendous. Did he have a say in it? Maybe. Could he have done better? Maybe. I think it was more of an ICE. I think an ICE officer should be able to determine whether somebody is fit to stay in the country or not. Not you know, let it be by committee. Let it be able to say, hey, this guy is really a good guy. Yes, he made a mistake when he was younger. We all make mistakes. I made a mistake. I paid for it. I went to prison. I did my time. I got out. And for the administration to change and say, hey, we're going to enforce this. It's a law, but we're going to enforce it now. Well, if you enforced it back then, and I don't know if, I know it's tough for me to say, is it helping the country? Is it not? I mean, it really burned me. It burned my family. I worked all those years, and it's all gone. But I had put in for vacation because me and my wife were planning a trip, and we were going to go on vacation, and I So I had to go check in with INS. Well, I went to go check in with INS, and it wasn't, hey, come back next year. We'll see you next year. No. This year was, we're going to take you in. And my heart sank. I was crushed. I was crushed. I went in shorts, t-shirts. It was hot, hot day. It was in October. It's not really summer, but it was hot in October. And I had my daughter drive me up there, and I was so crushed because I wasn't able to go back out and tell my daughter, hey, I think I'm gone. I think, I think, and they're gonna deport me. I think this is it. And they were like, well, you can use your phone, call your wife, call you. So I basically I texted my daughter, and she broke down on the phone, and my heart was broken. I had to call my wife and tell my wife I wasn't coming home. I asked the ICE agent, I was like, hey, I thought y'all were just taking the bad guys in. And he just shook his head. He was all like, man, I'm looking at your case, and you're not a bad guy. He goes, yeah, you did something bad back then, but I don't understand why they waited almost 13 years, to decide to deport you. Because if I knew 13 years ago that this was going to happen, I would not put my wife through this. I wouldn't put my family through this. I want to start a family. But they waited and waited and waited until I built a life for myself. Career, family, house, and it's all gone. I'm sorry, but the hard part was telling my wife I wasn't coming home, and just her breaking down on the phone. And I sat in the holding tank after they took my phone, took my clothes, took my shoes. And I couldn't talk to them no more. I spent 12 hours in the holding cell with 60 immigrants that couldn't speak English. Nobody to console me. It was the longest 12 hours of my life. I was the only person in there that spoke English. And yeah, there was people in there crying, but I was broken. I'm not even gonna lie, I wanted to die at that moment. But I sat and I prayed, and God got me through it. They had another test for me. I got shipped the next day to Pearsall, and it's horrible there. The 3 months I was there was more horrible than the 16, almost 17 years that I spent in prison. You're over there and nobody speaks English. The only one that does speak English is the guards, and they don't want you conversating with them. They don't want you talking to them. We're scum of the earth, immigrants. We don't deserve to be in the country. Why did we come here? You don't even know my story. I didn't come here. I was brought here. And now they don't want me here. So I had 3 months there. It's horrible. Young, old, mostly Latin American people. You know, I'm not gonna just say Mexicans. El Salvadorians, Venezuelans, Colombians, Cubans, people from Chile, Nicaragua. You know, they're all over there. Do some deserve to be in there? Yeah, they are. There's some horrible people in there, and there's no classification. You're just in there. It doesn't matter. You be 6'2", 250 pounds. They put you in there with a 5 foot, maybe a $130, and you feel bad for the you feel bad for the 5 foot person, because they're, to them, these geo officers, they're not there to discipline. They're just there to babysit us until we get deported. So there's no really law. They'll stop a fight, you know, if they see it. They'll stop somebody from getting raped or molested or whatever if they see it. Yeah. There's some sick guys in there. I'm just lucky to be 6 foot, 240 pounds going in. Yeah, I was a heavy guy. And that, you know, I was going to tolerate it. And I felt bad because there's not a fighting chance for these younger guys. They're small-minded, and they can be talked, finessed out of anything. And it's sad. It's very sad. And you can't get involved. You can't snitch. You can't. Everybody knows the prison code and everything. It's just sad. It is. It would be tough for somebody of small stature to go in there alone without no friends, because that place is built to break you. It's built to make you give up. And if you don't have any family, if you don't have no friends, somebody sending you commissary money so you can talk on the phone, make a video call, you will be broken. Your will be broken in there. I'm glad that me and my wife have a stable foundation. We love each other. I talk to her every day in there, and she helped me get through it. She helped me get through it. Her, grace of God, my Bible, and I got through it. I am warning anybody if you are facing deportation, do not get detained. If you have a chance and you know that you can just self-deport, get your go and get your stuff right, and I wouldn't recommend anybody being in that facility. It's there's no you're stuck in there with a bunch of crazy people. The rec yard is a 12 foot by maybe 25 feet square. Inside, it's inside. You don't even see the sun. Uh, it's crazy. It is. It's sad. You know, I feel bad for anybody that is still over there. Um, there's like I say, it's not for the weak-minded. You better be founded in your faith has to be super strong to make it through there, because you will be humbled quickly. You will. Uh, it's funny because you're sitting in there and 95% of the people in there are already talking about, yeah, they're going to drop me off at the border and I'm crossed back over the next day. Well, I don't have that opportunity. Where they're sending me is across the world, you know. And there's no, getting out and crossing the border. And I understand that's why uh, our administration is pushing to deport these guys and certain people. But there were some people in there that had families, that were working, that were doing really, really well, that got caught jaywalking, got caught in a scuffle with a white man that called the cops. You know, you got a family and you're standing in line at the McDonald's, and the white, or anybody, it doesn't have to be white. They decide to call the cops on you because you're Hispanic and they think you're an immigrant, and they hit them and they shot straight. You're an immigrant, even though it wasn't your fault. They're gonna come and get you. They're gonna side with the citizen of the U.S., and the immigrant is going not to jail but to an ICE detention center. It's sad. It is really sad right now. It's tough. I understand with everything going on with Iran and Israel right now, the bombings, and it's it's convenient that this happened, because now immigration is and everybody's it's in the back of everybody's mind, because now the war is going on. And because the war in Thailand and Cambodia, where Thailand is seizing land from Cambodia, is put in the back of everybody's mind. You know, the president of the United States came over here and had a peace agreement with these two countries. You know, the country that I'm in now, Cambodia and Thailand, and they agreed to peace. And as soon as he's gone, Thailand is the bigger military. It's like the big brother. They have the bigger military, and felt like they're going to take advantage of Cambodia and start taking land, and they're doing it basically. But it was tough. It was tough in the detention center. They came, talked to my country, told my country, said, "Hey, will you take him back?" And my country said, "No, we won't take him back. There's no paperwork saying that he's even a citizen." And they threatened my country and said, "Well, we'll just ship him anywhere. He's Cambodian. We'll just ship him anywhere. Would you want that happening to a Cambodian nationalist?" And they thought about it, and basically what happened was Cambodia forged some documents, made a birth certificate. It's funny because they made a birth certificate and said, "All right, we'll take them back." I sat in there for 3 months, and Cambodia decided to take me back. And it's funny because if they didn't take me back, I would probably be released into the streets. Um, it was heartbreaking when they came and told me, hey, they have paperwork for you in Cambodia, so you'll be out on the next flight, which probably be in about a week or two. Well, during that week or two, I went ahead and got a lawyer, paid her $7,000 to take our case. And I told him, y'all only have a week. If y'all can't get anything done, don't take our money. And they said they could get something done. And that wasn't true. They'd called my lawyer had called the warden at that facility and told him, hey, this guy, Bunraf So, has his case being reopened. Do not deport him. And ICE basically said, screw it, we're going to deport him anyways. They came and got me on a Saturday night, 12 o'clock in the morning. Woke me up, told me to pack my stuff, that I was on the next flight to Cambodia. And I called my wife and I told her, I said, this is it. She cried. I cried. We prayed. God's got us. I was sad that I was getting deported, but I was happy that I was getting out of the detention center. That's a horrible place. I wouldn't wish that upon my worst enemy, if I had enemies. It's just, it's not fit for anybody to be there. They need to change that. They need to change that. They need to offer something where these guys aren't confined in their block 24/7, because you put that many grown men together, things are that many attitudes, but they're all facing deportation. Their minds are not physically right because they're torn away from their families. Y'all need to open it up and figure out something over there, because that right there is not, it's meant to break you. It's meant to break you. It's meant for them to force, basically stop fighting and say, okay, deport me because I don't want to be here no more. And it's sad. It's sad. They use that. It's a psychological trap. They came, got me. I was torn because I was taking off my incarceration detainee reds off. Was able to put on my clothes, my personal clothes, put my shoes on. It felt good, but I was torn because I was getting shipped halfway across the country. I talked to my wife as many times as I could before I left. That was the last day, the last night that I was in the U.S. It's almost a 6-hour drive. So mind you, I went in October, mid-October, and I left in mid-January, and it was freezing. They put me on a shuttle van, and it was freezing. It was freezing cold. My toes were freezing cold. My body was freezing cold. It's almost a 6-hour drive from Pearsall to Harlingen, Texas. We had a charter flight. I didn't even know that there was an airport in Harlingen, but we had a charter flight. I was thrown on a plane with hundreds of immigrants. 33 Cambodians, Nepalians, Bangladesh. All of us were getting deported. Cambodia was the first stop off, but we had a layover in Honolulu to refuel. It's like almost 10-hour flight. Then from there to Guam, another 12-hour flight. Then from Guam to Cambodia, like 6-hour flight. 28 hours in total. We sat chained up like animals on a flight. Yeah, it wasn't a normal flight. I got shackle scars on my legs still. There was excitement. Some people that were excited, they were going home. I was going to the unknown. I was going somewhere I've never stepped foot on. I've never, ever been to Cambodia in my life. I'm 48. I've spent 47 years in the United States. I know no other country than the United States. And it's crazy. It's just crazy. We get to Cambodia, we land in Cambodia, and they won't let us get off the flight. They want to unshackle us, show the Cambodian government that we were treated decently. We weren't in shackles. I got off that flight and I told that guy the first thing. I said they had a shackle the whole time we're on that flight. And he was floored. The Cambodian officer was floored. He was like, well, that's not what they told us. He goes, well, they're lying. But he was floored, and he was telling another officer, he goes, and one officer said they were treating them like animals on that flight. You know, they were treating us like animals the last 90 something days. I just hope, I pray that nobody would have to go through what I went through. And I pray that the laws change. Yeah, there's people that should be deported. I agree wholeheartedly. Criminals that are, not doing what they're supposed to be doing, yeah, you catch them, you deport them and everything. But a guy that did something when he was a child and got out and made something of his life, became a pillar of his community. I was reading some of my support letters and it had me in tears. God bless Sammy. Letty, thank you. David, thank you. My family, friends, thank you. My wife, thank you. This ain't the end of my story. I'm here in Cambodia now, Battambang, where my wife, no, excuse me, where my mom is from. Yeah, I found out the other day. My mom was from here, and it's now her son lives here. But we need reform. Things need to change. You see it on TV, them deporting, a Korean immigrant that fought in the war, got medal, get deported to a country he knows nothing about. Laotian guy gets deported back to South Africa. We need reform. The laws have to change. I hope somebody sees this video that's up there and sees, hey, we're deporting guys that are really good people. I lost a job that builds. It's contracted through the Navy, through our U.S. government. We build ships. I used to work there. God bless Veronica. They blessed me. They blessed me and my family. I thank you. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. You never know. Laws may change. I may be able to come back. Administration may change. Say, hey, we deported some really good people. We may need to reassess what we're doing. People are out there advocating for us and dying. I'm not saying, hey, stop deportation. But I say stop tearing families apart. Let these agents become human. Let them see and look, It's just like a state giving somebody benefits or somebody. You go into the history, go into the past, and you look and you see, okay, is she really needing benefits? Is he really needing benefits? And test their character. Test their character. It's just tough. This won't be my only video. I'll be posting another video. I just hope that this reaches the right people. It helps the right person. If you're facing deportation and you haven't come in, I'm letting you know what you're facing. If you have a final order to be removed, please be careful. Please be careful. I will get your paperwork in order before you report, so everything goes speedy, because what you're facing is horrible, and I feel sorry for you. And I pray that God gives y'all the strength to make it past those few days that you have to be detained before you're deported or before you're released back to the streets to your family. I was just unfortunate. But thank you for listening. I will post another video of my life here, what's going on. Like I said, it's been 2 months. I got my ID. Just waiting to get my passport, open up a bank account, stuff like that. Things move really slow over here, but that's another story. Thank y'all for listening. God bless. I'll talk to y'all later.